Warning: this program contains strong language, auditory violence, and mental nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to your uncensored home for World of Warcraft news and opinions. With your host, Berserker, this is Unshackled Fury.
The Shadow Flame is rising. The temperatures are climbing. But hold on tight, as this ride is about to take some unexpected twists and turns. So welcome back to your uncensored home for World of Warcraft news and opinions, Unshackled Fury. I'm your host, Berserker. This is episode 126. And on today's show, reactions and thoughts so far on patch 10.1, Embers of Neltharion, the story, the zone, raid, more. We're also jumping into the already released preview for patch 10.1.5, Fractures in Time. But first, I want to wish all of the moms out there what will be, by the time this episode comes out, a happy belated Mother's Day. We have a lot of moms out there in the crowd. Believe it or not, well, there are women on the internet. And there's some that play Warcraft. And there's some probably on your raid team or in your guild. Holy shit. Who knew? Even more so, some of them are moms. And I know we even have a few on our raid team. So to all the moms out there, hope you got some breakfast or a nice lunch or a brunch. You know, brunching is the jam. Maybe a nice dinner, some flowers, a card, trip to local massage joint, the good one, not the one. However it comes down, hope all you out in there in listenerdom and Warcraft land, hope you had a great Mother's Day. Another item I wanted to mention real quick. It will be over by the time this episode comes out, but the Diablo 4 server slam has been going on this weekend, and I did get a chance to jump in very briefly, very briefly, and already, yeah, I think the hype for this is real. I think Diablo 4 is going to be very popular after, sounds like a somewhat stilted development where things may not have gone. I mean, they never go exactly how they're supposed to be planned, but I think this one might have even gone a little further off the rails. But so far from what I've seen, I think people are going to be very happy with what's on the way. So if you got a chance to get in there, congratulations. Good for you. If you didn't, well, only a couple weeks away at this point. I mean, the launch is, what, 6/6, right? Right there in June. So, see you all in Sanctuary. One other item here at the top of the show. Last week, I brought back again the Metal Album of the Week, and I want to thank everyone for all the great feedback in response to that. It's kind of funny. You just never know what's going to get people's attention. And the Metal Album of the Week seems to be something that y'all are jamming with, so I will keep it going. Lots of great suggestions from some of you fine listeners out there. Appreciate it. I'm working my way through several of them, and it's always cool to kind of jam with other folks and find out what's out there, because that's honestly a lot of how the metal community was built in the first place. If you're of a certain age, middle or older to be exact, you probably came up in a time when you were getting a copy of a tape like a dub of a dub. I know my cousin, right? The first Metallica album I ever got, he dubbed that for me onto a tape and spelled Metallica wrong. But that was how we got into this stuff. So word of mouth and talking to folks, that's still to this day how I find some really great bands. So I want to thank folks out there. So who knows, some of those suggestions might show up on a future episode. But for this week, we're going to take it back not too far. We're going to take it back to August of 2010 and the release of the monumental Order of the Black by Black Label Society. This thing is a banger front to back. Not very long. I don't even think it comes in at an hour. It's like 45 minutes, 49 minutes. There you go. 49 minutes total. But it is one of Zakk Wylde and the boys' finest ventures. Songs like Crazy Horse, Godspeed Hellbound, just some really great, just skull crushing tracks on there. And if you've never heard of it, or you've never heard of Black Label Society, I mean, God, if you've been listening to this show, I really hope you do, because that's where the name Berserker comes from. It's from this band and these guys, at least Zakk Wylde in particular. But this was a great album at a time when, you know, I think they really started entering another phase of their careers and really getting into something good here. And that has continued on as of late. But Order of the Black, fired up. Check it out. I think you'll dig it. Oh, yeah. Before we jump into this week's Raids session, I know I said it before, but I'm going to say it again. You're welcome. BlizzCon info will definitely be dumping after this episode airs. So congratulations to all of you now for hearing that before it comes on this show. But you know what? That's just kind of how it's always been. So hopefully the news is good. On to our Rage portion. Got something this week that I know everyone listening to this show, we all have common affliction, and now's the time to talk about it. So why don't we go ahead and jump into that? Let's rage. So maybe you saw this week, there was a bit of a kerfuffle about Blizzard's announcement of the Community Discords program. Where essentially put it out there and said, do you run a Discord server? Do you want to be more connected with World of Warcraft and get more support for your users and get some perks for your server and all kinds of cool stuff? All right, well, then you can apply to be part of this official Blizzard Discord program. And like, we'll have a list of approved servers and all this cool stuff. Right? I'm like, oh, all right. I got a Discord server. Well, take a little look into this. Well, not so fast, because people started digging into it. Concerns began to grow, where I guess more of the legal eagle-minded started looking into the agreement, the legal language in the agreement, and the consensus opinion seems to be is that it is overall pretty heavy-handed in terms of how this will work, where at I don't know, worst at best, you would essentially agree to be installing tracking software into your server and agreeing to like not saying anything negative or disparaging about Blizzard games, that Blizzard had discretion to remove content, and like basically you're giving them control over your server is kind of what it sounds tantamount to. So great hue and cry. People are like, oh my God, this is terrible. We can't do this. Blizzard, realizing that there was a problem, they come back and say, well, okay, all right. We appreciate your thoughts and comments, and we're gonna take another look at this. The real problem is not the agreement. The real problem with all of this is that there are just too damn many Discord servers. Everywhere you go, every game has one. Every website has one. Every influencer idiot has one. You go to the grocery store, they're handing them out. The local butcher's got one. Kid down the street, he's got one. Lemonade stand. Hell, there's a guy that got busted putting classified documents into one not that long ago. The real problem here is that there are too many Discord servers. I cannot tell you what mine looks like now, but it's messy. There's too many. I hardly ever know what's going on, and frankly, most of them. But I'm afraid in some of them to jump out because I might miss something. Or I know one time I jumped out, and a friend of mine that was part of it was like, "Hey, why'd you leave, bro?" And I was like, "Oh, I was getting too many alerts." Oh, you could turn those off. So, like, ever since then, I've been really leery because I don't want to like upset any friends, and so we just collect all these things. It becomes unwieldy. I know that there's at least one friend that I have that every time something happens, there is a mention for everyone on the server. And I see the notifications, and I'm one of these people where I have to, get the notifications, clear all my texts, clear all my calls, clear all my emails. I'm one of those idiots, right? And so this is like, oh gosh, oh, it's just one. Okay, all right. But I'm always having to jump in there for, I don't know, this thing, or Wowhead's doing a giveaway, or this other thing's going on over here. It's too many Discords. That's the real problem here. So let me tell you. Here's all you need. The Unshackled Fury Discord. That's the only one you need. Links to it are in the bio of the show. And maybe bonus roll. Because at least with the bonus roll Discord, you get like 9 shows for the price of one. And maybe that's really what we need to be moving towards. Is that it's not just dedicated to one thing, it's a whole bunch of things, and it's the channels within the Discord server. That might be the answer, but for now, just too darn many of them. And then we don't need a program. We just need like here's like the 5 that the community is like, yep, that's the 5, that's the good ones. And we can move on. We don't need this other shenanigans. So clean up those Discords, people. That's my word of advice to you. This week. But beyond that, a lot going on right now. Just had one big patch release. We're going to talk about that. And then already on the heels of the new raid, we have what's coming next. It's coming fast and furious. Why don't we jump into our news? May 2nd, we had the first batch of goodness with all the initial quests and getting into Zaralek Cavern and meeting our new friends. And then May 9th, just less than a week ago at the point of this recording, just literally like a few days ago, we had the raid, Aberrist, Shadowed Crucible, finally dropping. And if you recall, how this all began was the Primal Incarnates were on a move. They launched the Farak Assault, barreling down into the crust of the earth, into some place we didn't know. But we knew whatever it was bad. And we had Sarkareth, the Sundered Flame, chasing them too, going after some kind of power. And we had to chase them. That's basically what we knew. So let's start with the zone. Let's start with Zaralek Cavern itself. The first true large underground zone that we've seen in World of Warcraft. Something new, something different. I mentioned before, the spiritual successor to what Azjol Nerub could have been, should have been. And I have to say, I'm only the more disappointed that Azjol Nerub did not come to pass, because Zaralek Cavern is a pretty fun zone to get around. Maybe the dragon riding does something to add an extra flair to it, but it's really fun to fly around in. It is different in that you kind of have to think about what you're. It's not just open sky, right? You kind of have to think about what you're doing. It's sort of like the races. You know, is there a rock here? Is there a guy here? Is there a molten waterfall over here? You know, a slag fall? I don't know. I don't know what you call it. But you got to watch out. And then you've got your dragon riding currency. I can't remember the glyphs, right? You got those. You got the little alert icon. Like, oh, you're close. You're looking around for those. It's fun. It's fun. Lots of nooks and crannies to explore. What's a cranny? I don't know what a cranny. I don't think I want to know what a cranny is. And multiple entrances. There's the main one, right, by Valdrakken, which I think, I don't know, probably gets the most use. But quite honestly, I really like the one out in Anaran Plains. It's simple. It's easy. I think that's the one we go in initially. Really straightforward. You kind of come out on the back end over there. I think that's my preferred entrance. Maybe that's the back door. You know, back door entrance is the... I better think of how I'm saying that. Yeah. Back door, best door. There it is. Said it. We end up in there. Biodiverse as we expected, as we talked about. You know, you have the areas, I think, as you get closer to Aberrus, fiery, molten. Got a lot of bad guys up that way. Further back, your Niffin, Loam, all that kind of stuff. It feels a little safer. I think the colors kind of, I don't know, you can intuit from how safe or dangerous a place is based on the color scheme around you. The Drogbar, to be honest, I have not had a chance yet to jump into my snail races. I want to do it. I have it unlocked. I just haven't had a chance. But I have spent some time with our Niffin buddies. Sniffin Seeking, that's a Hall of Famer right there. That is one of the best mini games I think they've ever come up with. Some of them very straightforward. Oh yeah, I gotta, unlock a thing here, stand on a thing here, or drop my little buddy here. Some of them a little more challenging. There was one with a water bubble where I had to go underneath a crystal and explode it, and I was in there for a good few minutes because I could not figure out what the fuck I was supposed to do. And like, oh yeah, that's right, I can have dude sniff for a hint, do those kinds of things. And even then, I got the water bubble, but I couldn't see where the chest to get the key was because I didn't have my camera pointed up far enough. So some of them can be a little tricky, but the logic puzzles, like there was one where you stand in a room, there's 4 statues and 3 lie, 1 tells the truth. How do you figure out which one is which? Those are great. The rewards so far, nothing earth-shattering, but I have gotten a couple of nice pieces of gear out of it. A couple pieces I will definitely be wearing into raids. So overall, nice introduction to them. They're, annoying little mole people. They have some redeeming qualities. I think depending on, it's a great litmus test. How do you feel about gnomes? Take a gnome and cross them with a rat, and then you get our Niffin buddies, and then that's kind of where you end up. But so far, Loam, easy to get to, no issues there. Everything is fairly back together, and I'm enjoying it so far. I like the zone. Zaralek Cavern, I think it's one that they will be using for a model again going forward, as kind of like, this is how you can do something different, as they stretch the bounds of what World of Warcraft can be, what our expectations are. Dragonflight, just hitting home runs left and right. I love it. So looking forward to spending some time there. But at the pace they're going, God, I wonder how much time we're actually going to spend. But for now, digging it. Love it. I hope you are too. As far as the story goes, we've had a couple weeks now to play it out. There wasn't, I should say, one long stretch that you could get through right at the front. They did break that out between the 2 weeks here, May 2nd and May 9th. But right up front, as you log in, or you logged in once the patch was live, hit you with that cinematic up front, explaining what's going on. Rock turning himself into a molten dragon missile. I thought that was great. I'm glad that they are starting to implement things like that where, not everybody goes to YouTube. Not everybody is as plugged in. And so that really may be the first time that they see something, and it helps explain why are we doing XYZ thing. I think, unfortunately, too many players get caught up, and I find myself doing this too from time to time, is I need to get from A to B to C. Let's go. Fuck the quest text. I don't need to know the story. I don't care. I just want power, progression, rewards. Let's go. Get that mount, whatever. And there's just so much about Warcraft that is the story. And sometimes you got to force feed it to people. So I really liked that change, right? Because we didn't always have that, is having that cinematic up front. And then as we play out, as we, dive down into the cavern, and on the behalf of Alexstrasza, right, we're going to go down there and see what is going on. And with Abyssian, Sibelian, Rathian, off we go. As we begin our descent, right, we are attacked by Farak and the other, no, not the other incarnates, but Farak is there, and we get blowed up, and some bad things happen. We're saved by another MVP candidate, Elder Honeypelt, who helps us out and takes us to Loam. And while we're playing through all of this, and then essentially what happens afterwards as we're pursuing the Sundered Flame and finding out what they're doing, they're looking for Aberrus, right, and trying to stop them. We are getting some all-time brotherly love between Rathian and Sibelian, who are just constantly sniping at each other. And a credit to the writing team and everybody else, because I think most of you are enjoying the hell out of their bickering like grumpy old men, and it's fantastic. I think that technically Rathian is a grandson of Neltharion, so I don't know that they're technically brothers, but you know what? For all intents and purposes, they're brothers. And as sort of watching them interact with each other while we play through this storyline, it really feels like two bitter family members fighting. The heirs, they are heirs, right? But they're fighting over an estate. And anybody who has ever dealt with family fighting over the estate of a loved one, it can get brutal and awkward and nasty and unfortunate in all kinds of ways. And that's really what this reminds me of. I don't watch Succession, so I can't really speak on that, although I understand that it has something to do with a family and some amount of power and prestige and wealth there. But like many classic tales, I only foresee this ending in one way, which is that one of them has to die. Couldn't say at this point who it is. Have a guess. I think Rathian wins. But I love it. I love the interplay. I hope they drag this out as long as possible. And then whenever you have Abyssian come in and kind of break up the fight, it's sort of like the other annoyed still like, guys, knock that shit off. Like, we got stuff to do. We quit it. It is pretty funny to see how that all plays out. But enjoying that as we go through, and they are discovering what it is that they are the heirs to in real, where they find out, right, there's this secret lab, and that there are secrets to be found. There's power to be found. Who we know that Sarkareth and the Sundered Flame are going after it, but now we're really getting a better idea of what that means. And so in the midst of all of this, well, there's Farak laying on the ground. What's going on there? Oh, he's bathing in shadow flame. Oh shit. So this sort of purpley flame that we've seen previewed a bunch of times, well, that is, now we know it's shadow flame. It's a combination between fire and shadow, right? And he's absorbing this power, trying to attack Farak. You knew it wasn't going to work, and he basically just laughs at us. It's hilarious. Sibelian goes down at one point. Abyssian goes down at one point. Like you come to understand that Farak, especially in this Shadow Flame version, is no joke. There is an attack that he does where he physically wounds Sibelian. You can see that Shadow Flame all over his arm, and it's starting to overtake him, right? Because we know the story of Neltharion, driven to madness by the old gods. And now we're seeing more of how does that work? How did that work? How does this physically work? And so, of course, we're able to save him. Meanwhile, Farak flies off, tries to destroy Loam. No, not Loam, after we met all our buddies there. But we end up extinguishing the flames, and we let Alexstrasza know some real shit has gone down. And the Shadow Flame now comes to the forefront, where this is something that is a corrupting force, right? It gives you power, but it's corrupting, and you have to be careful. You have to stay away from it. And what could that possibly do to Farak or others as time goes on? And it's at this point that we start to shift our focus. We're going to go after the Jarden. The Jarden are trying to free an elder from Aberrus, who we know about. And so we turn their attention to them for a while. And battle them, and we find out they're waking folks up. We have a nice little bombing run. Love a good bombing run. And eventually to the point where, although Rathian and Sibelian are literally, it was like a junior high dance at one point. One's on one side of the fiery river, the one's on the other side of the fiery river. And we have to bring them together and say, listen, we're all coming together now, because we've put the Jarden back a little bit. We know Sarkareth is going into Aberrus, so we have to join forces, boys. We have to join forces and head into Aberrus and take care of this problem. And we're able to, talk some sense to them enough where we start the assault into Aberrus, gain a foothold there, and that's where we sort of land as we head into the raid, Aberrus, the Shadowed Crucible. And so as we played through all of that, right, we're learning about some of the experiments that have gone on. And one of those ends up becoming a new ride for us, a new mount. The Slither Drake, right? This is a long, serpenty looking dude. And as we're fighting the Jarden, we learn about this, and this is kind of one of those moments, and I'm sure that they bring it to the forefront to bring it to our attention. But as we first came into Dragonflight, the battle between Sibelian and Rathian, and I said it here, is that they felt like they presented two compelling cases. Each one made sense in their own way, and it was really a neck or neck tie. I think depending on how you felt coming in, you probably felt going out of that initial patch of Dragonflight. I'm team. You know that I'm team Rathian. That'll never change. I'm team Rathian through and through. But it's during this point in the questing in 10.1 where we find out about these new drakes that are up there on this sort of cliffside, and the difference in opinion between Rathian and Sibelian really comes to the forefront. Where we know from being players, right, that these are going to become our mounts. We're going to, protect them or keep them in some way. Sibelian sees them as cannon fodder. That these are not equal in the sort of draconic hierarchy, right? That They're not equal to him. They're not equal to the rest of his kind. They're cannon fodder, easily disposed of. Well, Rathian is really taken aback by that. Understanding from his perspective that they aren't cannon fodder. And so when he says that to Sibeli, like, am I the same? And he says, yes. So he's just kind of being a dick at that point, which could it be the corrupting force of Aberrus or his exposure to the Shadow Flame? I mean, any of these things is possible, but to me at this point in time, there's a divergence now that's starting to happen in my mind, whether real or imagined, between these two characters, where I think Rathian is genuinely trying to do the right thing and figure things out from a more global perspective. And Sibelian, I think, is staying a little more personal, internal. And then you have Abyssian, who, maybe it's him. Maybe Abyssian's the choice. I don't know. But I feel like Abyssian, his path might be going in a different direction. Working with Emberthal and that relationship, you can see as that part of the quest line ends, that relationship is staying very close. We saw that at the end of the last series of adventures in the Forbidden Reach and the great conversation they had there about the legacy of Neltharion. Here, they're continuing to work together, and there's something happening there. I don't know if we're having dragon mashies, but like, there's something happening. And so that all leads us to the point now where we're at the raid, where Sarkareth has breached Aberrus looking for whatever it is, and we're chasing after. So moving on to the raid. For myself, because I know I have members of my raid team listening, I want to congratulate my raid on being 7 of 9 in normal at this point in time. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I was not around for any of those kills. What I have seen so far has been in LFR. So some of that is going to be from that perspective. But from what I've seen so far, another great raid in the Warcraft belt. Khazara the Hellforged, exactly as cool as I had hoped that they would be. This may be one of my all-time favorite bosses in World of Warcraft. They have a fucking hell beam. A hell beam attack. I've been waiting for something like this forever. I love it. I love it. I need the mount, but it only apparently drops off of Mythic Sarkareth, so I'm never going to see it. But that is one of the most amazing, badass designs of all time. Fucking Hellbeam, guys. The gals and everyone else. Hellbeam. Hellbeam. Amalgamation Chamber. This is where we sort of learn the origins. Well, sort of learn. I think we learn the origins of the Shadow Flame. This experimentation of melding the fire and the shadow. But what I'm not seeing in any of this is, where does the shadow come from? I mean, intellectually, I know where the shadow comes from. It comes from the void, and it comes from the old gods. I got that. But that explanation doesn't seem to materialize as we're going through all of this. And then the third boss that I've seen so far, the Forgotten Experiments, it's kind of like, playing through it, it's sort of like when Goku fights Frieza. Not my final form. Oh. Or that, I guess it was Cell, maybe. But like that sort of idea, like, well, this is the best version. Now we're gonna power up to this one. Then we're gonna power up to this one, and until we get to the final version that we have to fight. So, it's not a council fight, thankfully. Where at least in LFR, right, we're fighting them one by one. I haven't seen the rest, so it could be. I just don't know it. But just banging them out one at a time, multiple abilities, pretty straightforward. I thought it was cool. But among all of that, the thing that I did not expect, because I didn't see this in any of the previews and I didn't notice it anywhere else, but while we are going through the raid, Neltharion is guiding us. That's right. An echo of Neltharion. guiding us alongside his two sons, Wrathion and Sibelian. Right? And one, it's just cool to see it and to hear him kind of talking about what's going on and talking the two dragons through it. But then we start to see, well, maybe this isn't all on the up and up, and it's perhaps we are pitting these two against each other, which is probably not the greatest. But man, what a great surprise. Super cool to see that. You know, it's in World of Warcraft, right? We had Cataclysm. It was an entire expansion dedicated to destruction because of Deathwing. But we didn't really spend a lot of time with Neltharion. There are some quests out there where you do spend some time with Neltharion, and then that cool ass human visage that we had way back when. But we really haven't spent a lot of time around Neltharion, and there is this sort of shadow, no pun intended, that hangs over all of this about the corruption and what happened, because much of what happened with Deathwing, the original turn against his kind, happened, you know, way before Warcraft. And so seeing Neltharion, getting some time with that character and watching, even if it's just this echo, right? But seeing these conversations happen between him and what I've seen this up to this point is with Wrathion, super fucking cool. Really excited about that. Among that as well is, again, watching that continuance of Wrathion's progression, of his own growth. And especially when we get to the Forgotten Experiments, his own reckoning with his experiences being experimented upon. It wasn't created that way, but that is the early life that he was subjected to, was being experimented upon. And I think, as we all know, anytime you've had these deeply traumatic experiences during your formative years, let alone the rest of your life, that holds a very long and deep sway over your life. And so for Wrathion now at this point, to be next to, even if it's just an echo, right? It's sort of like in Man of Steel, when, spoiler alert, when Clark / Kal-El gets inside that ancient Kryptonian ship, and Maximus is, his father, Jor-El, is there, and it isn't actually him, but right, it's this collection of his knowledge and his memories, and even in this way, an echo of him. So to be able to spend time with that character and potentially ask them questions, or to challenge them on certain things, or to get confirmation on certain things, very cool. And to watch Wrathion's growth continue in that way, I'm really enjoying it, especially because I'm Team Wrathion and I want to see him do well. Beyond that, I have not seen the rest. I know that we know how the raid ends and there's a cinematic after that. I'm not going to talk about that this week, but I did want to mention this discussion that I had, even just chatting through game with my raid leader, Barian. Shout out to Barian Salad Center for that 709. And, you know, we haven't made that kind of progress as a team that quickly in a very long time. And talking about it with Barian, you know, the sort of simplified mechanics seem to be helping. And something that I've seen the community talk quite a bit about is how much more complicated things have become. You know, some of these fights going on 15 minutes, which I just think it's too long. It's hard to concentrate for that long as I've gotten older, and I think a lot of people have too, is, you know, just endlessly clicking on stuff for 15 minutes, and you have to maintain that focus, and it's tough in a physical way, and not necessarily a intellectual way, which I don't know that that's the best thing for the game and for people. So to see maybe a bit of turn there, to have these great mechanics and abilities, but not to overstuff it. It seems to be a recipe for success. So really happy to see our personal progress on that. And from what I've seen so far, Aberrus is shaping up to be one of the great ones. And meanwhile, right now, we do have a race to world first going on. I believe we have a few teams at 7 of 9. They're, of course, mythic, not normal at this point. But that is ongoing. I think the usual cast of characters involved, so I don't know. We'll probably have a winner on that soon. But if you're interested, there are many streams going on out there. So by the time this hits Monday, I'm sure that you can still catch some live action before it is over. Sip a drink there for the working man. Meanwhile, I now that I've had a chance to play around a little bit with the gear upgrade system that I maligned so heavily last episode, it's gonna stay. It's too much gear and there's too many ways to upgrade it, and the whole thing just trying to swallow it all at once, it's too much. It's too much. I did have a great interaction over Twitter with Pa Creek, a wonderful member of the Bonus Roll family and co-host of Experimental Card and Overwatch podcast. If you haven't checked that out, and this is probably the best explanation I've seen so far. Is let me pull it up here because you know what, okay, we're doing it live. Talking about how confused it was, and he says all gear is upgradable through most content. So you can do M+ and upgrade raid gear and vice versa. That's it. That's the only explanation I need. Boom. Perfect. Right there. But in practice, I mean, I think the problem is, besides there just being too much of it, is that I think you just get afraid you're gonna blow an upgrade, like that you've wasted your currency on one thing when maybe you could have saved it for another thing. Like I got a great trinket out of the raid finder. It's this awesome trinket for my warrior, and I'm like, I don't know, do I waste the currency to upgrade it? Because I think I could like a couple of times and really get like a fat piece out of it, but I don't know. Then when I jump in normals, could I get it and waste it there? Like it just, I don't know. It's too many choices, too many decisions. I'm just not good with it. But maybe, I don't know. Maybe once I've used it a few more times, I'll figure it out. But again, I think this might be the last time you see something like this. I think it's too confusing. There's too many charts. Too many charts. Otherwise, the Farak assaults. I did one for the weekly quest because I had to loot a chest there. It's okay. It's all right. You know, whatever that meme is. It's okay. You know, had some quests, ran around, killed some guys, looted some stuff. It wasn't anything special. Maybe I missed the good parts, but I was in there, spent some time in there, and yeah, I mean, it was okay. Nothing to write home about it. Hopefully that'll progress a little bit. But yeah, if you've got some quests, doesn't take very long to do. I think I was in there 20 minutes and I got everything I need, looted everything I need, and I even have some leftovers for next time. So nothing too crazy there. Have not gotten a chance to do the researchers under fire, any of the world bosses or public objectives yet. So that might be something I touch on in the future. But last thing, dragon riding. Great. Hunting for glyphs. Pretty much maxed out all my dragon riding at this point. I think that is still one of the best things they've added in any expansion, and it looks like it's gonna be sticking around. So that's where we are right now, heading into the raid, somewhat of it done, and the rest of the story coming out of that. I think I'll have to touch on that next time, because now what we have already is a preview of patch 10.1.5, Fractures in Time. On one hand, I cannot believe that they are actually holding to the schedule that they gave us originally, showing all of these sort of half patches, less than full patches, whatever, all the way up through season 3. I can't believe they've held to it. But I'm wondering, I can't believe I'm saying this. I wonder if we're going too quickly. I barely spent any time in the Forbidden Reach. All of that for the Zscaira Vaults, and I barely spent any time in there. Now, I mean, for all of the work that was done to build that place, and we're already done with it. It's over. All that mishigas about the ring and upgrading it, and done. Already done. Like, I don't know. I think we might. I don't want to say we want to let our foot off the gas, but man, this is coming. It's almost like you have no time to save or anything. It's just we're just bombing. We're just going. So coming up next, Fractures in Time. No specific date, right? It just says summer. So that's, June to September. So I don't know. This pace, fucking July. How quickly is it coming? Probably coming soon. The big news, I think, coming out of this for a lot of people is the much rumored third specialization for the Evoker class. Although it's not, I think, what people thought it was going to be. But whatever you thought, this is called an augmentation specialization, where essentially you are a damage dealer with the ability to amplify the abilities of your nearby allies. So they have a pretty good little blog post up where they give some specific examples of how this might work. I think people have talked about this being like a bard-ish type class, if you're familiar with that from D&D and sort of that type of idea from other tabletop or RPG games. So essentially what this is, they give some examples here where, for example, Ebon Might, this ability where you will increase your 4 nearest allies' primary stat by a percentage of your own and cause your eruption to deal more damage for 10 seconds. So, nice little buff for a group of people. And then they list some others here. I don't know. Maybe don't freak out comment that they make here is that it's supposed to not involve too much specific targeting on your own part. It's supposed to have smart targeting or other ways for you to be able to continue to focus on dealing damage and then have these other extras that come along with it. But this is new. This is different. They never tried anything quite like this before. And it's here. It's coming. And it's coming not in a full patch, but a half patch, which is also different. We typically don't see something of this magnitude coming in this way. So there is a full blog post up about it. Bolster your allies with the augmentation evoker specialization. So that's one of the big things coming out in this next patch 10.1.5. The next being the mega dungeon. They love these mega dungeons. Dawn of the Infinite, an 8-boss mega dungeon. Not a whole lot known about it necessarily officially. All that they've told us is that the Infinite Dragonflight is involved and that they are focused on one thing and one thing only, and that is making sure that Nosdormu becomes Murazond and all hell breaks loose. And so for this 8-boss mythic dungeon, this will only be mythic, right? Then we're going to be taken across the time ways to stop the Infinite Dragonflight from succeeding in their goal. But even more interesting than sort of the top line of this is who we're going to be seeing, because we're going to be seeing none other than Galakrond dead already, with his big giant skull on the ground, and I guess the rest of his body, but also Iridikron. Iridikron is going to be a boss that we face in this. And so at this point, we do have, I believe this is coming out of the Encounter Journal. That's on the PTR. We do know who the bosses are. One of them is Chronocar. Another is Manifested Timeways. We have the Blight of Galakrond. It seems that Galakron's corpse is like corrupting stuff. We'll fight Iridikron. I doubt that we defeat him. That would be very surprising that we actually like kill him or defeat him. I don't know. Maybe we turn him. Who knows? In this. Let's see who else we've got. Morchi, who is the bad Chromie. We'll fight across a time-lost battlefield. I think the final is Chronoloord Dios and the Infinite Dragonflight. But there's one other. I think is the most interesting one of all. And that is the corrupted version of Tyr. We talked about Tyr, Titan Tyr, right? Tyr, the Infinite Keeper. And the model for this is badass. It is so freaking cool. I absolutely love it. You know, I don't typically like all the data mining stuff, but if we know and we can see, you know, kind of what some stuff looks like, that's fine with me. And what you'll see is this, what they're calling an infinite version, right? It's corrupted as infinite version of Tyr and his big hammer, and you know, he's all, you know, white and gray and black, and he's got that sort of I don't know, bluish green kind of energy to him. Amazing. Along with the very goth looking Morchi. So I guess that's what happens to Chromie. The bad Chromie is just like a Chromie that, I don't know, was goth. I guess that's what happened. I'm sure some people over at Wowhead are absolutely gonna love that. I feel reasonably confident in this suggestion. But yes, Mega Dungeon coming in this half patch. But perhaps most important of all, it seems that we now have the answer to what is the future of dragon riding. As you know, we came into Dragonflight. We saw the dragon riding. People like me on the PTR and elsewhere are like, oh, dragon riding's the shit. Oh, it's amazing. Oh, you're going to love it. And then dragon riding comes out and people are like, oh, man, dragon riding's the shit. We love it. Keep it. It's cool. But what are we going to do in the old world, right? Because the old world, flying does not work like that. You only have dragon riding in the Dragon Isles. What are we going to do? Well, it appears that patch 10.1.5 has the answer, because now it appears that there are going to be two different styles of flying: flight style static and flight style dynamic. Flight style static being what we were used to before this expansion, flight style dynamic being what we know now as dragon riding. And why is this important? Because this is now going to be opened up to Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms. So where we've been most of our time in World of Warcraft, in the parts of Azeroth we know and love so well, dragon riding the way we know it is finally going to be opened up, and there are going to be associated races, because we have now seen that there's an Ahn'Qiraj circuit, Ashen Vale, Barrens, Blasted Lands, Booty Bay, Deadwind, Desolate, Durotar, Elwyn Forest, Fell Flyover, Feralus, Gilneas, Gurabashi, Hyjal, Ironforge. There's the Kalimdor itself, Loch Modan, Nordrassil, Plaguelands, Razorfan, Rocketway, Searing Slalom, Thousand Needles, Twilight, Terror, Uldu, Webwinder, and Winter Wander. So all over the place. We've asked, we have received. It appears that dragon riding is going to be a permanent addition to World of Warcraft across Azeroth. And that is probably the best decision that they will make this entire expansion. It's beyond popular. People love the customization. You can continue to add to it. New drakes, new looks, new armor, all kinds of stuff, right? You can continue to expand that system because people love cosmetics. As much as we love big weapons and armor and raid gear and all that stuff, people love mounts and pets and armor customizations and physical customizations, all that stuff. Transmog. God, Transmog, one of the most popular things ever in the history of World of Warcraft. Having dragon riding be a permanent addition is right up there. Hall of Fame. S tier, whatever they call it. Way up there. And I'm really happy to see that because I know when I've gone back to Stormwind, let's say, or I have to fly here or there, different places back in Eastern Kingdoms. It's not a problem. I love my Time Lost Proto Drake. I'll fly that, static, whatever. Doesn't bother me. Some ways I don't mind that I can just let it float in the air and I don't have to like do anything. And then it'll just flap there and hang out. But I can't help but wonder as I'm flying around, like, man, it would be pretty cool to like be able to swoop up here, or down here, or twirl around here, or do whatever. Now, patch 10.1.5 is coming. Or at least it appears that it's on its way. And that's a reason to rejoice and something really looking forward to. Among that, there's also some other things that they're doing. Time rifts. There's a whelp daycare coming, which I can't help but laugh because, I mean, think about all the shit we've done. We're killers. Like, we've done wild stuff. You're going to let us care for baby dragons? Okay. Why not? And then they're also going to be apparently doing some sort of Next Rammus revival and adding a bunch of items there, old recipes and some like a mount and a bunch of stuff. So not really sure what exactly is going on there, but for some reason Next Rammus is getting some love, including something to do with the Corrupted Ashbringer, one of the most famous and beloved of all items in World of Warcraft. And whenever I hear Corrupted Ashbringer, I always think of Thoughtbot. And if you know what Thoughtbot is, congratulations. You're old too. But on the other side of all of this, a third spec, right? The permanency of the dragon riding. Like a mega dungeon, right? Especially with the third spec, are they doing too much in these half patches? Should something like a new spec be reserved only for full patches? I think some people would say yes. Something of that magnitude belongs, with a larger content release. Maybe it'll come out half baked. Maybe that's not the right time. But from where I'm sitting, I think the trade-off that's being made is that rather than have these huge patches that are long stretches of time apart, they're trying to find ways to peel off certain items from what would traditionally be part of a large patch to give us something in the meantime so that there are not these long open stretches of nothing, because that has been a constant critique, right? Legion famous for having those regular updates. Shadowlands, I don't know if Shadowlands is a special case, right? But we've seen that in other places, these long stretches between major content patches. And in trying to deliver more regular content, it seems like what they've done is to peel off an item here or an item there and try to bring a little more substance in between. And if this is something that they are successful in continuing past this expansion and just this year, then maybe we need to reorient what we think about in terms of what should happen in a major patch, major content patch, half content patch. Seen a lot of news recently about staff at Blizzard leaving because of the, return to office mandates. And that's a tricky subject, I think, all over the place, depending on where you sit. I don't work at Blizzard. I don't know what those contracts look like. As I've mentioned before, I think if you built your life around having permanent telework, but you did not negotiate that as part of your contract, I mean, there's nothing stopping you from leaving. But if you had the expectation that you were always going to be home but did not get that in writing, there is a portion of that that's on you. Unfortunately, there are people leaving, and it's because of a variety of reasons. And I agree, the return to the office thing is dumb. I mean, if you're being this successful from home, clearly you could make it work. But I guess if you have a whole ass campus down in Irvine, you're trying to make some use of it. I don't know. Fucking rent it out. I'm sure you could get a lot of money for it. But is this pipeline that we've seen now going to get slowed down? Is the way that we've seen 2023 roll out, the way that Dragonflight content has rolled out up to this point, is that now going to come to an end? Hard to say. But if the life of Warcraft continues to unfold in the way that this year has, in the way that these content patches roll out, I think things like a major spec or a class or some huge stuff that may not just be reserved for major content patches anymore. And honestly, I'm okay with that. The pace, I do feel like the pace is getting a little tight. I would like a little more time to enjoy these things, but that's okay. My life is busy. I know I don't have as much time as some other people, and there's probably data showing, all right, we're ready to move on after a certain date. Okay, fine. We'll let it happen. But for me, I'm okay with how they're splitting these things up. I'm really excited to see what's coming down the pike. Overall, again, Fractures in Time, we have the new Dawn of the Infinite Mega Dungeon, the Augmentation Evoker spec, the Time Rifts, public events, the Whelp Daycare, there'll be a quest line and dailies associated with that, the Kalimdor Grand Prix Dragon Riding event, Warlocks. Hey, Warlocks, you're getting some race updates. Woo! And some pet customizations. Woo! And some other returning player improvements. They listed a few other minor things. But overall, Dragonflight continues to kick ass and take names. And this now puts us into the fall, where there's going to be another smaller patch, 10.1.7. There's going to be some more story, I assume, leading into whatever is happening in Season 3, which at this rate, if we're talking about some timey-wimey craziness, man, it's all on the table. It's all on the table. And I'm really excited. So, folks, it's a great time to be a World of Warcraft player. And it's odd to say because I don't have a hand in it, but I'm really proud of the team that's working on this. We had a rough go for quite a while. And we'll likely never see what we saw in the Wrath era. That's okay. Because what we're seeing now is pretty fucking good. And the future, well, continues to look bright. All right. I think we've done enough damage for one episode. My thanks to all of you for listening. And remember, you can always follow me and this show on Twitter at Berserker Rage and Unshackled_Fury, as well as on Twitch at Unshackled Fury and Real Berserker. You can also join our Discord, links for which are in the profile of the show on Twitter and on our bonus roll page. Feel free to contact the show with your questions, comments, or otherwise through any of those resources or on shackledfury.com. And you can find this show wherever you get your podcasts. So once again, thank you for listening. Remember to keep your swords wet and your banners high. And we'll see you next time. Farewell.